My God. Just take a look at the improvement. That's all it's ever been about, the improvement. It doesn't matter if it's good right now, as long as it's better than the last one. You know what I mean? If you go back and you listen to album one, you just hear all the flaws, and I'm sure you probably heard it from the start, but when I was doing it myself, I didn't have anyone else telling me what to do, so I didn't hear all those things. Whereas now, not only am I showing other people and they're giving me their own input, but I'm listening as well. I can tell what's better. And it's not just musically, like artwork wise, just everything. I got a documentary, I'm working on a music video. This thing is going to be amazing. It's only up from here, man. Today is May 20th, 2021. It is 5:37 a.m. I probably should have started recording these a little bit earlier, but that's alright. The purpose of this is just to let you in and show you the process of me going through album mode and writing songs. May as well just get into it.
Who made the cover and how involved were you throughout the process?
Sasha made the cover.
Mm.
I think it was
Sam's girlfriend, by the way.
I think it was mainly my idea, but she made the cover.
Mm.
I think I was more involved in she was more involved in making it look right, whereas I was more involved in like how I wanted it to look. So
Yeah.
she would like execute the idea, whereas I had the idea.
Okay.
So when you see the cover, you'll see
No.
that it's like it's phase 2 in red, and then the book on the front of the album is obviously the folder that I've been writing all my lyrics into, and so it's like opening the page, phase 2. Let's just get started, and obviously you can see the clock. It's got 5 o'clock written on it.
Yeah. Mm.
Really, it was Sasha's. Sasha's done a lot of it, but it was really my idea to do it. So
Yeah. You influenced.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. No. All right. So I made your last puppet cover. You know.
Mhm.
And one of my focuses was a color palette. You know, did Barter in this case, did she have any focuses that you know on that you were trying to go strict on?
Yes, sort of. I always knew from the start that we were gonna do the two for the phase 2.
Mm.
We were always gonna do that in red, whether we wanted it glowing or I always just envisioned red.
Yep.
But in terms of the other colors, I wanted the front to be more light because it's like start of the day, more like a morning,
Okay. Yeah.
and then the back, it's a lot darker. But I didn't want to be too dark. Like we brought a lot of different colors out of it, but it's mainly like purples and blues and
Yeah. So it's not just like the 5 o'clock that indicates that it's morning.
yeah.
It's also the fact that you have light on the album cover to kind of emphasize the fact that the sun's coming up.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Exactly. The reason why the clock is 5 and 10 is because 5 is the time that I was waking up. I was writing songs at 5 o'clock in the morning, and 10 o'clock was my deadline. Once it hit 10, it's time to go to bed because you know you got to get up in the morning.
Yeah. Okay. Mm. Yeah. No, when I was doing your album cover, yeah, the color palette was one of my things because I was reading up on like other great artists, and one thing consistent with them is they had like a color palette of like 5 colors ish. I guess my question is like, did you take any inspirations from other famous album covers, like things like Kanye or anything else?
I think that we did take inspiration from. We looked at some. We didn't really take them from specific ones. We
Yeah.
just sort of looked at what were good album covers in our eyes and didn't try to replicate it. Just like saw like the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
Like whether we have to have everything going on in it because
Yeah.
like Puppet has a lot going on in it. There's a lot of like obviously you were scribbling and we couldn't decide what we wanted, so you were just like let's put it all together.
Yeah.
But with this one it was more like, do we keep it simple or do we want everything happening at once? And yeah, it sort of just turned out the way it did. I think. Yeah, I think that's,
I think like Virgil Abloh is like, I'm pretty sure he created like My Dark Twisted
yeah, I think so.
Fantasies album cover.
Simplicity. Yeah.
And that's super simple, but it's a legendary album cover. Everyone knows it when they see it.
Yeah. It's about creating something that someone's going to recognize when they see it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, will they recognize it? Donda's just black, but everyone knows that's Donda now.
Yeah.
That's Donda. All right. Well, speaking of other artists, it features how did you pick your features? Did you come to them or did they come to you? How'd that work? How was that process there?
Well, there's a feature on there from Alessia. I've always admired her singing ability, obviously. It's completely different from rap, what I do, and it's just something that I've always wanted to have as a chorus or just anything really, like just a collab. So I was like, I think that I hit her up first about it because obviously she doesn't really do much solo things apart from like covers and stuff. But I was interested in what it would sound like on one of my songs.
Yeah.
And I'd already had like the concept down and everything. I already knew what I was doing with it. But I wasn't sure whether I should write my lyrics for her and then she could just sing it.
Yeah.
Or if I should just go, this is the concept, give it to you and you make it. And it was better to do it that way because when you listen to the actual song, Broken, she wrote the chorus herself and it just fits so well. She didn't know how my verses went at all, but I told her what the theme was, and once in the studio, the first time I heard it, and
I remember that. I remember doing it, like helping her out and being like, all right, let's focus on the themes, what's going on here.
Yeah.
It was cool. No, it was a great little process working with her on that.
Yeah.
That was cool. Is there anyone else featured or is it just Alessia?
Yes, there is a feature as well, Jerry Robinson.
Honestly, I'm speaking fundamentally. I'm just trying to be around for centuries. Eventually, these entities will never get a cent from me. Taking all my dollars and it really don't make sense to me. Gotta be the
Flow pockets, show rockin', do it like the 80s back in old Compton. Whole art list, go cop it. I'm rapping till it's Kendrick and Cole watching. How do I get on top of the whole market? No stalling like my old car did. Radio artist, I'm so not them. Still I got Jerry, my strange bro on this, and this is just a testament to my longevity.
So I've always listened to lots of his music since he signed to Strange Music and I figured out who he was. I've been speaking with him a lot throughout Instagram and I've sent him some of my music. I've freestyled for him on one of his live streams and shit. So it's someone who I enjoy listening to because I remember when his album came out, we just had that playing in the Viva over and over and over. Maybe you should say it now. But they're the only two features, so it's just Alessia and Jerry Robinson.
Before you started making the album, or necessarily when you maybe when you're making these songs, going through that, did you have these people in your mind, or did they just come to mind, or what? Like, were you just like, all right, that will fit, or did you just kind of come across them as you were making it? You know what I mean? Like, what was the process there? I guess.
I think it was more so I come across it because I've always wanted a feature from these people.
Yeah.
But I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to feature them on.
Okay.
Like it wasn't really, that's what I want them for this part of the album and this part. It was more so like, I know I want these people. And so when I was making the album and I didn't have like a chorus or something, it's like, well, I can come back to the people who I want to feature. And if they can do it for me, cool.
Yeah.
If not, I'll work it out myself.
Yeah.
Which happened with one of the songs that we scrapped from the album.
It happens.
Yeah.
Goes into the vault.
But yeah, it was mainly thought along the process. It wasn't like, I'm going to get them on this and get them on that, but it was along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, with the vault, like, bro, Wayne can make 80 songs in a night.
Yeah.
And they all just go into a vault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to scrap songs. If you got to scrap them, you got to scrap them.
It's a lot different though, I reckon, with my music, because I think that it's different because most of the time when I scrap a song, it's because it didn't make it to the studio.
Yeah.
Because I don't have frequent access to a studio, so the songs that I scrap aren't even songs yet. Like they're just templates. Like I've written it. It's just written. It may not even have a beat. It's mainly just verses that I've scribbled down. And the songs that I do in the studio are ones that I've planned for like weeks, sometimes months to do. So I know that they're going to be the ones that I'm going to keep.
Yeah.
So everything that I've recorded in the studio has been kept.
Yeah.
Apart from like with Puppet, we did like 3 different versions because we had to get that shit right.
Right there. Yeah, it starts with my arsenal of lyric weapons.
That's funny. You know when you see like old clips of Eminem doing stuff? You know when you see like old clips of Eminem doing stuff?
No.
Yes, why? There's gonna be like one of those clips you like, yo, Tim and the boy.
Chronologic hops and that Geico. Boogie Conway, West Side, yo, they're my idols. But how many more strings can I hold? At this point, it's like I'm convincing my soul. I need to let the people know that I still can flow. Understand I'm not digging my hole. No show told y'all scissors in my hand.
Earlier, when we were talking about Alessio, we talked about themes of the song, and I guess this kind of leads into this question: like, what emotional events in your life have led to the culmination of themes on your album?
On the album as a whole, or just that song?
On the album as a whole.
I think the first thought that I had was I didn't want it to be like the first album, because I think that the first one was really lyrically impressive, but I didn't execute it as well in terms of production and like studio quality and that sort of thing. So I think that was one thing that I sort of wanted to change with this, and that guess you could say that was one of the main driving factors. But I tried to keep all of the sort of immature emotions on the start of the album, because I kind of want to, when I like the last song on the album is called Ascension, and I kind of want it to be like I'm ascending not just as a musician but as a person as well, and I didn't want all the immature concepts to be towards the end, you know. Sitting here writing We Were Only, and it's literally looking like this could be one of the most deepest songs that I've ever written. I know that on the last album there was lots of deep songs, but it wasn't executed properly, and I think if I can get this right, this could be one of my greatest songs. There's a lot of songs just about rap on there, which is what you'll get when you listen to any one of my albums. We'll see what happens in the future, but
yeah. What's like life really? Like, you're a child and you grow up into an adult. You know what I mean? At the start of your album, you might have immature stuff, and then at the end, you'll have more stuff that's leading into harsher and harder themes, I guess. Yeah, and that's right. In saying that, there are still songs at the start of the album that have harsh themes, but they're just sort of things I had to get off my chest. Okay, that's fair enough. You got to get this off.
Just finished writing Rain. It's the second edition, but it's not much different than the first. This is what I wrote last year sometime, and I went and recorded it, but felt like it wasn't good enough, so this is the second one. It's basically all done.
I was gonna say this kind of leads into it a bit, but is there any bops just follow no theme? You know what I mean? Any just bangers that are just there because why not? Or is the whole thing really kind of strict?
Well, I tried to think of like, in terms of like filler songs and stuff, I don't really like having many fillers. I like every song to have a part in the album, otherwise I would just drop it as like a single. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. But there's just one song on there, One of a Kind, that is a bop, and I'm sure that when everyone hears it, they'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I think he received it. Opened the suitcase and his smile was beaming, but then you saw what's inside in his leaving boxes of CDs. Oops, I must have sent him the wrong one. I just sold him the millions. It's $25 for one. I hope that you're proud of me, Granddad, cause I signed him over with a gold pen I bought, son. You could call me a pack from Ikea. Why? Cause some people say I got screws loose. Do I got balls? Yeah, boo. Coop right with a blue pen, no suit.
I think it'd be cool if you just grabbed it. So
I don't want to look like an idiot. I was like, and then I don't have it in my hand. That's what I did with the blue pen. I sort of guessed it.
Do
you reckon I should just stare at the camera and be like,
I reckon try and grab it with one hand and then grab it with the other hand. If you can. Ready?
You can call me a pack from Ikea. Why? Cause some people say I got screws loose. Do I got balls? Yeah, boo. Coop right with a blue pen, no suit.
As soon as I press play, it's going to go right with the blue pen, no so that's all that we don't need, and then it's going to go into the bit that we need, okay? Ready?
Coop right with a blue pen, no suit.
full of darkness, so filled up, got it seeping out my eyes, no boo-hoo. Spaz on the beat and destroy the 808, I'm not talking about Honolulu. I got a lot on my mind, yeah, cranium full of with rhymes, yeah. Say that I'm boring, you lying, I know that I am one of a kind, yes, and I'm riding the beat like a jet ski. Who you know do it more freshly, there ain't no one around who can...
It's just that song. When they're in the folder, they look all itemized, but now it's like, holy, this is actually all my work.
All of it.
That's not even a song, that's just my bars. Alright, are we gonna take a shot?
Yep.
I was listening to Kanye and I feel like buying a mask from Margilla. I'm waving around at the beat like I'm the inflatable man at the car dealer. They compare me to Stephen King, cause every word that I write a beat all thriller. I might raw kill a beat and leave it dripping ink and walk about the booth and call Dylan just to tell him that I got a lot on my mind, yeah. Cranium full of the rhymes, yeah. Say that I'm boring, you lying, I know that I am one of a kind.
That went so hard. What?
Even though it's a bop and it may not, like on the surface level, it may not resonate as deeply as the others. It still is punchline heavy, and it's not just thrown in there. Like I really thought about how it flowed into the album, because you go from Addiction, which I've shown you before, you go from Addiction straight into One of a Kind. Yeah, just every aspect of it I really planned out, I think. Yep. Even though it's like the single and like it's good by itself, I still didn't just throw it in there. I made sure it flowed in there.
Yeah. Yeah, when you have more time to think on it, you really think about everything. Even like just me, like I notice that when I'm working on my car, for example. Like if I work on something over a long time, I think of more things. And then that way I don't go, oh, well, I should have done that. You know what I mean? That would have been better. And obviously there's always going to be those things where you go, I should have done better there, I should have done better here. But the more time you take on something, the more you're going to be able to think of it. All right. Do you think your technical techniques resemble or contrast your themes? So what I mean by that is, do you think your techniques in rapping kind of go directly opposite with how the song flows? Or do you reckon they kind of resemble and go along with it? So you might have a song that's very, I don't know, sad, but it could be happy. You can sound happy, almost like Pumped Up Kicks. Or do you reckon it's the opposite, where it's the lyrics are sad and the song itself is sad?
Yeah, I don't think I've gotten that far into my artistry yet to make songs that like Pumped Up Kicks, where like obviously it's a really
a sad
deep
song,
and emotional topic, but like at the same time it's such a radio hit.
Yeah, doesn't necessarily mean either are wrong either.
Yeah,
they're both right. It just depends how you execute it.
Yeah,
you know, how would you say you executed it? That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think that with every song that had a theme, I feel like I was just trying to resemble that theme as much as I possibly could. There wasn't really much contrast at all. The only song that I feel like I didn't go as hard on lyrically in terms of technique wise and like rhyme scheme ability and that sort of thing, I think was the one with Alessia.
Yeah.
Where I kind of just wanted her to shine.
Yeah.
And sort of just say what I had to say about the topic at hand and just let her do her own thing. And if you like it for Alessia, then you'll listen to the song. But if you want to hear what I've got to say, then you'll just listen to my verses, regardless of whether there's insane rhyming ability and flow switches and that sort of thing. Which is something that I like to do in every song, but I don't know. It's some songs come out a lot different.
Well, they have to. Even like Drake's new album is really different, and he said that. He said it's different. If you don't like it, you don't like it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's just it. I like some of the songs on there, but I don't like a lot of it. In my opinion, I like what Drake's been doing, but that doesn't make him a bad artist on that particular album. It's just that he's experimenting, and everyone experiments. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I think it's good though, because like it's a whole switch. Like you may not enjoy it, but at least he's trying something different. He's not just sticking to the same thing over and over.
It's like Ye and Kanye.
Yeah,
it's different. You know what I mean? So it makes you enjoy it, because it's like, I've heard a lot of Graduation. Same thing. So like starting anything creative, in my opinion, it can be fucking difficult. Like just going, all right, what do I do now? Usually you just start scribbling down ideas, in my opinion. But how did you start your album? What was the beginning? Was it just a song and you kind of put a couple together? How did it start?
Well, I think that I started writing it while I was still rolling out my first one.
Yeah.
So I think that the first couple of songs I was writing was Phase 2, which is the intro track, which is really the one that reflects the most on the previous album.
Yep.
And how far I want to take it with this one.
Yep.
And I also remember doing Heaven Sent, which was the third track on the album.
What I say, my flow is heaven sent. Yeah, my flow is heaven sent. My flow is heaven sent. Yeah, my flow is heaven sent.
The producer who did those two songs had the same one, so I bought that beat pack, and so I like wrote to those ones first.
Yep.
But it was still in the midst of the first one. Like I didn't even really know how the reception was going to be. Really, like I remember dropping the first album, which is probably when I was writing Heaven Sent, but Phase 2 is really reflective of it. So I reckon that I probably started writing that one a bit later after the album had dropped, maybe like a month or so. But I remember it being one of the early ones, which is like sparked the whole idea, because the name of the album wasn't supposed to be Phase 2. It was supposed to be Slow Motion, which was a throwback to Moonshine.
Be slack, you're gonna have trouble keeping up with my next track. Slow motion will ruin you, so be prepared for that. They say the harder they come.
It was supposed to be like a fast rap, but it was supposed to be like, ironically, the chorus was going to be in slow motion. Yeah. That was going to be the theme of the album. Like I'd planned that since before I dropped my first album. But once I wrote Phase 2, I just thought this is a much better concept to go with, and let's just take it all the way there.
Yeah. Stuff changes. It's just how it is.
Yeah. I think I've been through 9 different track lists. Like there's so many songs that I've just either scrapped them or put into, just instead of just scrapping them all together, like just taking the verse from that one and putting it in the other one. Like, you know, it's not an easy process. We're just going, yep, that song. It's more like, even when I had the full track list there and I was happy with it, over time, because it's been such a long process getting this album out, over time I've looked back at it and been like, you know, those songs sort of don't really go well together.
Yeah.
So how does it sound at the end there? Or how does it sound in between here? And like, I don't know. That's what I was talking about before with like the structuring, where I wanted the immature sort of things to go at the start, and then the more mature themes at the end.
There's definitely like a fine line, I think, between songs flowing together, but also having contrast. So, because like something can sound completely different and still go really hard. I think like Sicko Mode is an example of that. Just the beat switches in Sicko Mode are amazing. Just massive contrast, but you know, completely makes a song, a song amazing.
Just a complete switch.
Yeah,
which is cool.
So growth. How do you reckon you grew throughout the album? You know, obviously we all make changes and we all grow as we're doing these things, but how did you grow throughout this album? You know, was it anyone that inspired you to grow, or anyone you took inspiration from, or what?
I think I'm always trying to grow my writing skills, which is something that that's really what started the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, as I said before, my first album was really lyrically impressive, in my opinion, but it wasn't executed properly. And so in terms of growth, I feel like I've just taken a lot more time with my studio time. Like, even if I smash songs out quicker, it's a lot more practice that goes into it, rather than just, you know, half of the first album was recorded in my room.
Yeah.
Whereas now I was like, you know, maybe that sound doesn't come out as good, so why don't I save that sort of thing for when I have a place to put my studio equipment, and in the meantime I'll just make sure that every song that I create is going to be studio quality.
Yeah.
Which is a lot better on the ear, I reckon, because when it's hard to listen to the first album. There's only a couple songs on there that I enjoy listening to, and the main factor that I enjoy listening to it is because of the quality of it, the sound of it.
Yeah.
Because I produced a lot of the tracks on the first album, and some of the beats were cool, some of them were questionable, but the ones that stuck out to me and were listenable again for me were the ones that I had done in the studio, and I took the time to perfect, not just rushed in my room when I wanted to get the album out.
Yeah.
So with this album, every song was thought about differently. They weren't just rushed together just to get it done. Otherwise, there's no point in getting it done.
Production, particularly, is extremely important, especially in like our day of age where anyone and everyone just expects perfect because that's all they've heard. It's just they've heard so much music. It's all they know. But in saying that, like Travis Scott, I'm pretty sure recorded like No Bystanders. I think the one with Juice WRLD under a blanket, like with a towel over his head. And obviously that's a banger. It truly is amazing what you can do.
It's a lot like in J. Cole's documentary. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not, but when he was making the off season, there was a lot of clips from older times. Like I think there was clips from like 2016 or something from when he was making For Your Eyes Only.
Yeah.
And there's just clips of just him sitting there in the room and he's recording and there's like a sock over the mic for like the pop filter. Instead of just like an actual pop filter sitting there. It's amazing what you can make do with what you got. But at the same time, it's a lot better in the studio.
Yeah.
This is sort of like what you've got to work with. But yeah, if you have the money, you may as well spend it.
That's right. Well, it's an investment. But we talked about like changes about the album before. Like, were there many big changes, and did you trash heaps, or did you really try and get it right the first time almost? Talk about that.
The album title changed.
Yep.
Which completely changed the narrative of the whole album. So it went from Slow Motion, which I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with. It was probably going to be a lot like the first album.
Yeah. You grew. Motion. That's what happened.
Yeah. But once I'd figured out what phase 2 was, it was like, all right, where do I go from here, and how is this gonna? How do I want this to sound? Which I talk about Ascension a lot because that's probably one that I'm completely proud of because it's in Ascension. I'm talking about making music that I'm proud of.
To my art is flawless. I adapted to my problems until I could solve them. I'm putting in my 10,000 hours to thousands of crowds that will shout at my talent. Slowly develop inside that I'm proud of it. I did it all without problem with Prada. True to myself, never needed assurance. A prodigy, perfect and punches and powers. I've pounded the clock for a while now. I'm pounding the charts so they're coming on top of this mountain. What do you say to that? I'm fighting hard for this.
I'm happy to show people the first album to see where I started, but it's not something that I'm proud of. Like, I don't sit there and listen to the first album all the time. But I can see myself... Once this album drops, I can see myself just putting it on repeat.
Okay.
Which may change for you guys or whatever, but...
No, I'll be honest, I don't listen to the first album heaps. Like a couple songs every now and then. Yeah. I have like Puppet and Breathe in my like songs.
Exactly.
And they rotate every now and then.
Yeah. But the thing is, Puppet and Breathe have been worked on a lot more.
Yeah.
Breathe had King Crooked
on
it.
Both of them are still rough. But it's like both. But in saying that, I've seen clips of like the recent album, and like as someone who's wasn't along the journey necessarily the whole way, there is a massive amount of improvement. Like, it's insane, and I'm really keen to just see where you go.
But I'm keen too, because I can see the improvement as well. Like it's crazy because I don't listen to the first album much, when I go back and listen to it, it's like, wow, that's really what I was on back then. Like, I really thought that was what was popping, but it's completely different than what I'm doing now. Like, but just the other day, we were looking through the rhyme schemes of some of the songs on the first album. There was the fourth song, Letter to Slim. The last verse was just like, every single line rhymed with the next one for 16 bars in a row. The whole verse rhymed. And I was like, how the hell did I do that but not execute it properly? Like, it was done in my room.
Yeah.
Imagine if I got that in the studio and like perfected it the way that I've done this album. It's interesting to see like what it could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. As someone I'm a cook. I'm going to be a chef. That's like my career. That's what I wanted to do. One thing that made me realize what's important is your environment. Your environment, I think environment is massive, because if you're around people that are doing the same thing, it really, really does push you. Anyway, my question is have you thought about changing your environment for your career? Possibly even moving to America, as that is where the rap game is. Have you thought about that? It is a big question.
Well, it's a good question. But in terms of changing my environment, just locally,
Yeah.
definitely changed the where we really live. Basically, like making sure that I don't have too many distractions around me.
Yeah.
Because distraction is one of the big key factors that I really don't really want to be around.
Yeah.
I limit my times on social media. I make sure that I make the most of the time that I have.
Yeah.
And so changing my environment was a big part of that. With the clocks on the album cover, that was a big change as well. Like I'd always have the alarm clock, but keeping it in my room and making sure that my schedule was strictly monitored.
Yeah.
Was a big part of this album. And also I just moved to Brisbane, so it was like I wasn't recording, like some of their first album was recorded in Stanthorpe, but a lot of it was recorded in my room. Whereas now moving to Brisbane was a whole different environment, and having to find things that were near me was a little bit of a challenge.
Certificate that I can put up on my resume, print it out and send away, turn lemons into lemonade, making plans to move away from home and start the second phase, a million different trips to Brizzy, car loaded CD plan, just turned 18 and dabbled in a little alcohol, juggling 2 jobs, cashier and turn the tractor on, making lots of money, saving up to make my next big album have a better resonance than the other one. I put out Puppet and my people say I'll blow up all the way.
But Justin, who mixes most of my music, had a friend basically 15 minutes from where I lived, and just as good of a studio as what I could get anyway, really. So that wasn't too bad of a change.
Yeah.
In terms of studio quality and stuff. But in the future, I would like to move out of Australia. I'm not sure whether I'd like to settle down in America, but
Yeah.
I don't really know if I want to stay in Australia, just because it's not really what I look up to, really. Like I don't look up to in terms of the music scene. There's no Australian artists that I really listen to.
It doesn't support your career.
Yeah, exactly. There's like I grew up on American music.
Yeah. And that's not bad. Like Kid Laroi moved to America.
Yeah.
Like if your job is there, then it just makes sense to move there. But like insane, as I said, like if everyone's supporting you in that, it makes it way easier, as well.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges that I think I'll face eventually, because
it's definitely a tough.
It's hard to move away from everyone that you've known.
Love, yeah, and know, especially just country in general. It's a complete culture change as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when do you reckon we can expect more from you? Any plans?
I'm not really sure. I think that after the album drops, I kind of want to take a break, sort of, because
just a breather.
Not necessarily a break from making music, but just a break from dropping albums, because I don't want to just drop meaningless music. When I drop my next album, I want it to be I want to keep getting more meaningful, so I want to top this one. So I probably will take a long time to do that.
Okay.
Probably another couple of years, but in the meantime, singles are probably going to be pretty big.
Yep. Any mixtapes, you reckon?
Mixtapes.
Maybe.
If I have enough singles that maybe fit together, a mixtape might be an option. And if it's been a while since this album dropped, like if it's been like 3 years and all they've got is just a couple of singles and they're like, where's the album? Maybe a mixtape could be an option if the album's not done yet. But I don't want to rush the next one. I want to take my time with the next one.
Okay.
I did take my time with this one, I'm sure, but I know I can do better, and I always want to do better than the last. But with the next one, I don't want to discredit this one.
Yeah.
Like I did with this one. On this one, I'm always talking about how bad my last one was. But on the next one, I kind of want to go, yeah, the last one was good, but see me now.
Yeah.
that's probably where I kind of want to go next.
All right. Well, that wraps up our questions. That's all I've got.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for helping.
All good, boy.
It should be good, and enjoy the album when it comes out.
Okay, I'm keen. I will. All right. I guess we'll talk next time.
Right, cool.
Have a good one.
It's the 20th of August, 2022. It is currently 5:39 a.m. and today is the last studio session. I've got 4 songs to do. I'm kind of excited. Not sure how it's going to go, but there's a couple blocks where I just don't have anything at all, but I kind of want to clear up this morning. The album's getting there, and there's a lot of other things that need to be done before it can be finished, but I suppose this is the last step before I send it all away to Andy to finish off. I don't know, I just feel like I really planned this track list out because like there's 14 tracks, and I'll break them all down for you. So you've got the first one, which is Phase 2 Intro, and it's basically like, it's the one that reflects the most on the previous album. So it's a really good, like, sets the tone of the album and the different sorts of themes that I'm going to go in depth with in this album. And then you've got Impatient, which, if you think about my first album, how the second song was Dead or Alive, and it was about Tupac and Biggie, it's sort of the same theme, but instead of just like 2 artists that everyone knows about, I decided to make it a bit more generalized and go in depth in the actual issue that we have at hand. And then you go into the third track, which is Heaven Sent. It just rolls straight off from Impatient. I just feel like it's sort of like thematically connected. I'm talking about like artists who have left us, and then my flow is Heaven Sent. It's like, I don't know, you take it how you want. And then you got Rain and Dirt. Rain is like a story of being down and at your lowest, you know, like it's one where your most vulnerable state, you're falling like rain. And Dirt is like in direct contrast to that. It's like the exact opposite. Like, yeah, I've fallen down like rain, but now that I'm in the dirt, I've got nowhere to go but up. And it's like motivational and empowering. I really like that. Like, they work hand in hand. And then Broken, which has Alessia on it, is, yeah, talking about a couple of different topics to go with one of the songs that we scrapped from the album. And if you think about it, in the course of the album track list, it's like Broken is the last song on the first half, and it's like breaking the album in half, and from then on it gets deeper and deeper, you know, because obviously Broken's something that I have to get off my chest, and once I get that off my chest, it's like now we can talk in depth about things that are more mature concepts. So then we go into Gap Year, and it really just starts like the second phase. Like, the whole album's the second phase, but this is like the start of the second phase. This was coming out of school, coming off of dropping that album and releasing Puppet, and really goes into depth in like the story of this and how I want it to be and my choices. And then it goes into Blood, Sweat and Tears, which is just like a dedication to like a song that breaks down the dedication that I have to my craft. Like, this is things, like, I spent hours and hours on this. It speaks for itself, which goes directly into Longevity with Jerry Robinson. Like, yeah, I've put my blood, sweat and tears in this, and I'm hoping that it pays off, and I'm here for the long run, you know, like, it's longevity. And then after that, we go into a deeper situation with a deeper concept with addiction. It runs directly into One of a Kind with the transition between those 2 tracks. One of a Kind is like one of those, like, you had to be there to do it. Like, I remember it was like in the moment. Like, I remember just, I don't know, so braggadocious, but at the same time, it's like putting myself down but being proud of it. And then we go into probably the deepest song on the album, which is We Were Only, and I'm breaking down the different ages that we were at, and like the things that have happened to us and how far we've come as people. And after getting this deep and thought-provoking track off, we go into Ascension, which is, yeah, speaks for itself, ascending into one of the greats of rap, and I'm like, it just sets the scene for what's to come. So there's 14 tracks. That's the last half. I just feel like it's these little sorts of things that mostly go unnoticed that add a bit of value to the music. Like, yeah, you may enjoy the songs, but, you know, and the backstory behind the songs, but how they connect thematically and conceptually, and it adds to the creativeness. And that's it. I've waited so long to get to this day. It's just insane. Like, all of the work that I've put in is finally paying off, and it's a physical
tangible object that you can listen to now. It's not just like an idea that I've been telling people. I've lived with this album for like 3 years now, so it's time for you guys to listen to it. I mean, I hope you guys enjoy it. Stream it when it comes out, and we're on to the next one.
Sunlight. Sunlight. Phase 2.